The Young and the Restless Spoilers. The return of Jill Abbott to Genoa City always signals that the landscape of family, business, and personal relationships is about to shift in ways that leave scars and opportunities alike, and this time is no exception. Her arrival, orchestrated by both Jack Abbott and Victor Newman, is far from a simple family reunion or nostalgic callback to the powerful matriarch's presence. It represents the collision of decades of resentment, unresolved disputes, and the never-ending push and pull between the Newmans, the Abbotts, and all those who orbit around them. For Sally Spectra, Jill's presence is both a daunting reminder of the generational power struggle she is trying to navigate and a potential lifeline at a moment when the fragile foundation of her dreams with Billy Abbott is threatening to crumble beneath her. Sally has thrown herself wholeheartedly into Billy's world, embracing both his volatility and his brilliance, convinced that the two of them together can not only survive but also build something enduring. Abbott Communications, their passion project, was supposed to stand as proof that Billy could reclaim the narrative of his life after years of reckless choices, failures, and betrayals, while also proving that Sally was more than just a fiery outsider grasping at Genoa City's power circles. Yet all of this came under fire when Kane Ashby sabotaged the launch, leaving both Billy and Sally humiliated in front of investors and the city's elite. The fallout has been devastating, and Jack's decision to withdraw funding after Billy's own bitter complaints only added fuel to a fire that was already burning out of control. Jack's actions, though motivated by his own frustration at Billy's endless self-sabotage, left Sally feeling cornered. She knows Billy's pride will never allow him to ask his mother for help, not after the years of bitterness that grew from Jill's decision to sell Chancellor to Victor, a betrayal that Billy has never forgiven. Chancellor Industries had been more than just a company to Billy. It had been a way to prove himself to his family and to carve out a place where his ideas and leadership could flourish without constantly being overshadowed by Jack, Victor, or even Jill herself. For Jill to dismiss that vision and align herself with Victor of all people was more than just a business move. It was a wound that never truly healed. And yet, in this latest crisis, Jill might hold the very key to whether Billy's next chapter succeeds or collapses entirely. Sally, torn between loyalty and desperation, finds herself in the impossible position of having to consider whether to appeal to Jill directly, even if it means keeping that approach secret from Billy, who would view it as the ultimate betrayal. Sally's dilemma exposes just how fragile her place in Billy's life truly is. She has seen firsthand the anger and bitterness that surface whenever his mother is mentioned, the way his expression hardens and his voice turns sharp. Billy may have found passion with Sally, but his relationship with Jill remains haunted by disappointment and mistrust. And yet, for Sally, Jill represents wisdom and experience that cannot be ignored. Sally has always prided herself on being resourceful, on knowing when to take risks, and on seizing opportunities others might shy away from. But in Jill she sees a woman who has survived betrayal, reinvention, and reinvestment in a town that swallows weaker people whole. Sally may love Billy, but love alone will not keep Abbott Communications alive. She knows Jill could provide not only the money needed to salvage the company but also the legitimacy that might convince the Genoa City business community to take them seriously again. The question, however, is whether Jill would ever consider giving Sally the funds behind Billy's back. Jill loves her son, but she has also spent years wrestling with the consequences of indulging his impulses. Her refusal to hand him the keys to Chancellor again was rooted in the belief that he needed boundaries, not another chance to burn bridges. Would she view helping Sally as a clever way of supporting Billy indirectly, giving him the opportunity to succeed without forcing him to confront his pride? Or would she see it as enabling another reckless detour in his long history of ill-fated ventures? The tension is magnified by Victor's involvement, as Jill's decision to sell Chancellor to him continues to hang in the air like an accusation. If she now turned around and backed Sally, it would not only inflame Billy's mistrust but also potentially position Jill against Victor, a man she has had to navigate as both rival and reluctant ally over the years. Sally's motives are not entirely selfless either. Her relationship with Billy is deeply personal, but she also knows her own reputation has been marred by failed ventures and questionable choices in both love and business. Standing beside Billy in rebuilding Abbott Communications is as much about proving her worth to him as it is about proving her worth to herself. Sally has always thrived when she has something to prove, and in this case, the stakes could not be higher. Failing alongside Billy could mean not only the end of their company but also the end of her place in his world. She understands better than most how quickly Genoa City turns on people who cannot deliver, and she has no intention of letting herself be cast out again. This is why Jill's return looms so large for her. Jill might be the only person capable of breaking the stalemate between Billy's pride, Jack's frustration, and the financial reality that threatens to suffocate them. The specter of Kane Ashby lingers as well, a reminder that the Abbotts' greatest enemies are often the ones closest to their orbit. Kane's sabotage of the launch was not just a petty act of revenge but a calculated strike designed to remind Billy that his past will always catch up to him. Sally knows Jill is aware of this, too, and that Jill's own complicated history with Kane makes her wary of any scheme that smells of desperation. Yet if Sally can convince Jill that supporting Abbott Communications is not about indulging Billy but about protecting the Abbott legacy from being further tarnished by outside forces, she might succeed in swaying her. That argument would resonate with Jill, who has always cared deeply about the Abbott name, even when her methods have driven wedges between herself and her children. Meanwhile, Victor and Jack's joint involvement in Jill's return suggests that larger forces are at play. Victor rarely moves without a long-term strategy, and if he encouraged Jill to step back into the spotlight, it may mean he sees an opportunity to either consolidate power or destabilize Billy further. Jack, on the other hand, may be acting out of frustration but also love, hoping that Jill can succeed where he has failed in guiding his brother away from self-destruction. Both men know Jill's influence can alter the course of the Abbott family drama, but neither may have anticipated the role Sally is prepared to play. Sally is not simply waiting for Billy and Jill to reconcile, she is actively positioning herself as the bridge between them, even if it means betraying Billy's trust. The potential fallout of Jill giving money to Sally without telling Billy is enormous. If Billy discovers it, he could view it as proof that Sally never truly believed in him, that she went behind his back to manipulate his mother. It could shatter the fragile bond they've built, turning love into resentment. On the other hand, if Jill refuses Sally, it could leave Abbott Communications dead in the water and expose Sally as someone who overplayed her hand. The precariousness of the situation underscores just how volatile the Abbott family remains, and how Sally's decision to tie her future to Billy's may be as dangerous as it is passionate. As Jill steps back into Genoa City, she will face not only the ghosts of her choices with Chancellor but also the living, breathing consequences of her fractured relationship with Billy. She will see in Sally a woman desperate to hold on to both love and ambition, and in Jack and Victor, she will see two men who have shaped the battleground she is walking back into. Whether Jill chooses to help, to withhold, or to manipulate will define the next chapter for everyone involved. Sally's gamble could elevate her into Jill's circle of trust or banish her from Billy's life forever. And Billy, forever the dreamer and the rebel, will once again be forced to decide whether to cling to pride or to embrace a future that might come from the very person he resents the most. In the end, Jill's return is not just about money or business. It is about whether this fractured family can find common ground before pride and betrayal consume them all over again. For as long as anyone in Genoa City can remember, the relationship between Jill Abbott and her son Billy has been marked by a painful imbalance, one that has left scars on both sides and fueled a cycle of resentment that seems impossible to break. While Jill has often claimed that she loves all her children equally, her actions have repeatedly suggested otherwise, with her affection and loyalty falling time and again toward Kane Ashby, the man she once believed was her true son, only to discover years later that he was not bound to her by blood at all. Kane was the son of Colin and Genevieve Atkinson, not the child Jill thought she had, yet despite that revelation Jill's heart never stopped leaning in his direction. She had adopted Kane, nurtured him, defended him in the face of scandal after scandal, and given him opportunities that Billy could only dream of. Even after the truth emerged, Jill's favoritism persisted, and it has left Billy in the unenviable position of always being second best in his own mother's eyes. The bitter irony is that Billy is her flesh and blood, while Kane is not, and yet Jill continues to place her faith in Kane, overlooking the deception, the corruption, and the ruthless ambition that has consumed him. Kane's current trajectory only underscores how misguided Jill's loyalties have become. No longer the man she once defended as misunderstood or unlucky, Kane has embraced the darker impulses of his father, Colin Atkinson, becoming the kind of calculating and predatory figure Jill used to rail against. He is no longer content with small victories or narrow gains. He has set his sights on nothing less than total domination of Genoa City's business empire. Jabot, Chancellor, Newman Enterprises, Kane intends to conquer them all, not through innovation or brilliance but through manipulation, acquisition, and the kind of backroom deals that leave scorched earth in their wake. He has become his father's son in every way that matters, ruthless, unapologetic, and willing to trample anyone who stands in his path. And Jill, blinded by years of misplaced loyalty, has allowed herself to see him as the more reliable choice compared to Billy, who, in her eyes, has always been too impulsive, too erratic, too self-destructive to shoulder the weight of leadership. For Billy, this constant preference for Kane has been an open wound that never heals. He has worked tirelessly to prove himself, to rise above his mistakes, to build something meaningful, but every time he believes he has finally stepped out of Kane's shadow, Jill finds a way to remind him that he is not her first choice. It is not just about business, it is about identity, about worth, about whether his mother has ever truly believed in him. Jill's decision to sell Chancellor to Victor instead of backing Billy was perhaps the cruelest blow, a betrayal that confirmed for Billy what he had feared all along, that his mother did not trust him, that she would rather put the company in the hands of an outsider, even an enemy, than give him the chance to succeed. That decision continues to haunt him, fueling a rage that simmers beneath every interaction they have. For all his attempts to move forward, Billy cannot forget that Chancellor was taken from him not by his enemies, but by his own mother's hand. Sally Spectra, caught in the middle of this generational war, finds herself in a precarious position. She loves Billy, she believes in him, and she has staked her own reputation on their joint venture with Abbott Communications. But she also sees the writing on the wall. Without Jill's backing, their company may never recover from the setbacks it has already endured. The sabotage by Kane, the withdrawal of Jack's funding, the skepticism of Genoa City's business elite, all of it has left Abbott Communications teetering on the edge of collapse. Sally knows Billy's pride will never allow him to ask Jill for help, not after everything that has happened, but she also knows that without Jill's support they may have no future. In Jill, Sally sees not only a potential savior for the company but also a chance to mend the fracture between mother and son, even if it means risking Billy's trust in her. If she goes to Jill behind his back, she risks destroying the very relationship she is trying to protect. Yet if she does nothing, Abbott Communications may die before it ever truly takes off, and Billy may sink deeper into bitterness and despair. The great question hanging over all of this is whether Jill can ever truly shift her loyalty, whether she can finally put her son first after years of putting Kane ahead of him. Jill has always prided herself on being shrewd, pragmatic, and unflinching in her choices, but those qualities have also made her blind to the emotional consequences of those choices. She has told herself that supporting Kane was about protecting the family, about stability, about doing what was best for the Abbotts, but in reality it has been about her own inability to see past the image of the man she thought Kane was. Now, with Kane openly pursuing a hostile takeover of every major company in Genoa City, Jill must confront the reality that the son she has trusted has become the very embodiment of everything she once feared. If she continues to enable him, she risks not only destroying her own legacy but also losing Billy forever. Billy's anger toward Sally for potentially seeking Jill's help is another fracture waiting to open. For Billy, his mother is a symbol of betrayal, and any attempt by Sally to bring Jill into their lives will feel like an act of disloyalty. He may love Sally, but he cannot separate her from the larger wound inflicted by Jill. If Sally accepts Jill's money, even in the name of saving their company, Billy may never be able to forgive her. And yet, paradoxically, Jill's involvement may also be the only path toward redemption. If Jill can show Billy that she believes in him by supporting Abbott communications, not for Kane, not for her own image, but for Billy himself, it could be the first step toward healing the rift between them. It could be the moment when Billy finally feels that his mother sees him, values him, and trusts him. But that will require Jill to do something she has never been able to do before, to put Billy above Kane, to admit that her loyalty has been misplaced, and to face the consequences of her past choices. The possibility of reconciliation between Billy and Jill is fraught with obstacles. Billy is not a man who forgives easily, especially when the wounds are carved so deeply into his sense of self. Jill, for her part, struggles to admit when she is wrong, preferring to justify her choices as necessary or inevitable. But if Kane continues down his destructive path, if he pushes too far in his bid to take over Jabot, Chancellor, and Newman, Jill may be forced to confront the truth she has long denied, that Kane is not the son she wanted him to be, that he is not the man she believed she had raised. In that moment, she may finally turn back to Billy, not as a consolation prize but as the son who deserves her faith. The question is whether it will be too late. Billy's pride, his anger, his history of self-sabotage, all of these make it difficult for him to accept what he sees as too little, too late. And yet, there is a glimmer of hope. For all his flaws, Billy has always yearned for his mother's approval. Beneath the bravado, the bitterness, the rebellion, he has wanted nothing more than to know that she believes in him. If Jill can find the courage to admit her mistakes, to support him not because he begged her to but because she truly sees his potential, it could be the turning point he has needed all along. Sally, too, could play a pivotal role in this reconciliation, not only by fighting for Billy's dreams but by showing Jill that she is committed to his future in a way that no one else has been. Together, they could convince Jill to finally shift her loyalty, to break the cycle of favoritism that has haunted the Abbott family for years. The stakes could not be higher. If Jill continues to back Kane, she risks enabling a man who will stop at nothing to control Genoa City, even if it means destroying the very family she claims to protect. If she chooses Billy, she risks reopening old wounds and admitting that she has been wrong for years. And if Sally missteps, she risks losing the man she loves and the future they are trying to build. Every decision, every move, is a gamble, and in true Genoa City fashion, the fallout will ripple across every family, every company, every relationship. Jill's choice will not only determine the future of her son and Kane but also the balance of power in a city that thrives on betrayal, redemption, and the never-ending struggle for control.